Right, so hello everyone, and welcome back to the Darts with Jack podcast. My name is Jack, and today I've got the wonderful Gemma Hayter on with me. So thank you so much for doing this, Gemma. So
That's all right.
obviously you have just had your women's amateur darts circuit tournaments this weekend, and obviously, or a couple of weekends ago, sorry, and you completed the double. Obviously, you won event 5 and you won event 8, beating Steph Clark especially in event 1. So do you feel that having these big tournament wins gives you the confidence that you can perform on a big stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think half of darts is having the confidence and obviously the belief in yourself. So getting those 2 wins under my belt against those like caliber of players in that field is a great confidence booster.
And obviously now you're fifth in the order of merit on the way to Portsmouth. So how would you feel? Sorry, how would you feel if you could obviously get there and perform? Do you feel that performing on, potentially on the Modus stage and stuff, do you feel that that would give you an added extra bit of confidence for your game?
Yeah, definitely. I think all the opportunities now for women, especially, it's going in the right direction. And obviously, performing on big stages like Modus is obviously a big part and a big motivational factor for us now.
So obviously the women's ADC have provided big breaks for people. We've seen Ella McCairns recently, especially last year, getting her big breakthrough. And then she signed with Target, obviously, and released her darts. And you recently have obviously just signed with Red Dragon. So how do you
Yeah.
feel that that's going to impact your career?
Obviously, it's going to give me all the tools to succeed. Hopefully, having a massive name behind you like that obviously gives you a boost. And like I said, it all comes down to confidence again. The fact that people believe in you like that is brilliant, really.
So obviously, talking about your career for those people who don't know, listening, you obviously took a break from darts. Could you explain to the viewers why you did take a break from darts and why you then eventually came back?
Yeah, so I played since I was about 13 or 14. There wasn't many academies back then like there is now. So I just played in the youth system. I got called up to the senior team when I was 14. Um, and then I had a bit of a struggle and ended up getting dropped. And then I had a second stint. And that's when I come back playing better than ever. But again, like limited opportunities back then, etc. So it was just I felt like when I got picked for England, that's like the highest I was ever going to take it without doing the tour. So obviously to come back now after 8 years and concentrate a bit more on it, it's obviously put me in good stead now. So I think it done me the world of good.
So obviously, by having coming back, we've seen you perform better than ever on the women's series and the PDC events. This year you reached the semi-final and the quarter-final already, and you're already ninth in the order of merit. So obviously, in the women's series, we see the biggest players. We see Bo Greaves, we see Fallon Sherrock, and now obviously you've added your name to that caliber of players. So how do you feel that performing on the PDC stage, where obviously some of the events are broadcast, how do you feel that that has an impact on you and giving you the confidence about your game?
Um, I think that's an interesting one. I mean, last year I was sat at home watching all the scores on Darts Connect, like most people do. So to actually be there competing is a bit, well, it's still a bit like unbelievable for me, really. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good. Like women's darts are in a good place now. Everybody's performing well, and it's great that we've got these like events to showcase that.
And obviously, I like you, I obviously am following Dark Connect every opportunity, obviously. And on PDC TV, there's one streaming board for each women's series thing. That's obviously something that's only been implemented in recent events. But do you feel that maybe having a couple more streaming boards would bring even more people into watching the game?
Um, yeah, I think now, like normally when the draws announced, the women go on their phones and they try and guess which one's going to be the streaming board. So quite a few times we can't actually pick. So obviously that just goes to show the strength in depth now of the women.
And obviously,
Sorry.
sorry, Dory, you talk about the strength and depth there, and obviously that has proved absolutely pivotal to the success of the Modus week last week, where it was an all women's week in between the series, and it was bringing in 4,000, 5,000 viewers, even peaking around the 6,000 viewer point. The final last week. How do you feel that that event is going to showcase women's darts?
Yeah, I think it's massive, and the fact that the women are performing as well is obviously another brilliant factor in that, and that just goes to show in the viewing figures is that people that want to see it and they were enjoying it. So yeah, I think it's brilliant.
And obviously, it was good. I think you'll agree with me. Obviously, I bet obviously for you, were you annoyed that you weren't there yourself?
I wasn't annoyed. No, I think I'm still quite new in terms of coming back to darts. So I wouldn't say annoyed was the right word. Maybe a bit jealous, maybe slightly jealous. But I mean, it was great. All the girls that were picked and played, they played, like I said, they played phenomenally, and they definitely showed why they should have been picked.
I think that's also one of the big things. We saw players in that event that you don't usually see normally. Obviously, everyone talks about Bo Greaves. They talk about Fallon Sherrick. Dieter Edmond, sorry. And then, do you feel that obviously with Rihanna Sullivan winning the event, who from everyone who I've spoke to after the event has just said that she's an absolutely wonderful person on and off the tour. Do you feel that having not just the people that everyone hears of, do you think that that's growing the game a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned Steph Clark earlier, like Natalie Gilbert obviously put on a great show, but there's so many people that people were naming in the chat that they wanted to see. So I mean, that's great. The fact that you could probably 10 years ago couldn't even think of 10 players, like lady players, and now you've got people another week with another 12 women. So it's great.
And obviously, when you're not playing darts, sometimes when you're not playing darts, we see on your Twitter a lot that you're a big fan of FIFA and Football Manager. Do you use that kind of as like a rest break from darts?
Yeah, so I'm quite a big gamer. So that's normally, well, that's what I was doing before I started playing darts, but now most of my time is taken up by darts. If it's not darts, then it's work. So yeah, it's just a bit of a back burner for now.
And obviously, you talked about earlier playing in the county system, which is obviously where so many players are getting their big breaks nowadays. You played for Hampshire at youth level and senior level. And as it was pointed out, you've known Luke Humphreys since he was young. And obviously, his success has just grown the game. And obviously, do you feel as someone who's known Luke that he's always deserved this big break? Did you know that it was going to happen for him?
Um, I mean, Luke's lovely. He always has been lovely. We probably were out of touch for a few years, and obviously when my career kind of got going and I got the attention, I reached out to him for a bit of advice, and he was just obviously so lovely and basically got the ball rolling for me. But in terms of when we were younger, I mean, he's always been a good player. Did I think he'd be hitting 100 plus averages like nearly every game? Probably not. But no, I mean, he's great and he deserves everything that he gets.
And how far do you feel that the county system in general? I've talked to Tom Sykes, I've talked to Jared Cole about this. How far do you feel that the county system provides an absolute great starting point for people wanting to get into darts, to get into the professional game?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you need that experience of playing in front of people, and you need that experience of the pressure. Really, obviously, 1 point decides if your team's going to win, lose, or draw. So I think that's a great starting point for anybody trying to get into darts.
So for me, obviously, I'm hopefully going to go to JDCQ school at the end of this year. So, what is your biggest piece of advice to me, or just to any young player coming up in the game of darts? What's your biggest piece of advice to them?
I would probably say just enjoy it. I don't think you should focus on your averages. I mean, we saw last week between, was it Bo and Kersey, there was nearly a 20-point difference, and Kersey nearly beat Bo. So do you know what I mean? I don't think you should focus on averages. You just need to focus on enjoying it, and yeah, just focus on yourself, and just, well, hopefully you'll smash it. So good luck for that.
Thank you. So, obviously this has been a really big year for you, winning a couple of ADC events and getting to the semi-final of the women's series. For let's say 12 months from now, where do you want to be? What are your aspirations for the year ahead?
I'm just kind of taking it as it comes, really. Like I said, I'm still new to all this, so when I was playing, there wasn't the women's series, there wasn't the ADC, there wasn't all these opportunities for the women. So I'm just kind of just going along with the ride, really. So I wouldn't say I've got any aspirations. Obviously, I want to win what I can, but I'm not really focusing that far ahead. It's just one day at a time at the minute.
Yeah, so obviously, we've seen with many people, obviously, Bo Greaves has been the big female talking point for darts over the past couple of years. She's a double world champion, and obviously Fallon Sherrick, Queen of the Palace and her big world championship debut. So for people like Bo and Fallon, who we've seen in the world championships in both associations, we've seen both of them in the Grand Slam. Do you feel that how they've grown the game? Do you feel that we should have more representation for ladies players in the big majors?
I mean, yeah, it would be nice, and obviously that is one way to get the women's game going. But I'd kind of like to see it develop its own game and not have to play against the men to promote that, if you know what I mean. So I think the averages that Bo and Fallon, I mean, a few of the other ladies were averaging high 80s as well. I think that kind of speaks for itself, that there's definitely a market there to just focus on the ladies' game.
Yeah, and obviously I feel like that's bringing on to my next point quite well. The amount of people who's talking about, oh, it's darts in general, or it's separate games. For you, do you feel that for the women's games to grow, do you feel that there needs to be more of a spotlight on the actual tour itself, or do you feel that there should just be a way that the women's game can grow side by side the men, or would you hope that the women's tour in itself, it's got a limited number of events, there's only 20 or so women's series. Do you feel that there needs to be more for the game to grow?
I think to start with, you kind of have to side by side it with the men's to obviously get that interest. I mean, you were talking about, like, obviously the Luke Littler effect now, but then how many people did Fallon inspire when she was obviously winning games at the World Championships, etc., and Bo beating all the men and having an undefeated week at Modus. So I think you kind of need that to get people interested. But I think once that is established, then yeah, definitely the ladies' game should be explored more.
And do you feel that, especially with the Women's Week, do you feel that, we saw Rianne, she's gained an invite to Series 7 to play alongside. Do you feel that, by Rianne having that opportunity, do you think that that's going to grow the game as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think any opportunity that the women get to play on TV, or obviously to promote the game, is great. And I reckon she'll do very well. She's been playing great recently. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So let's talk a bit more about tour life in general. So obviously on tour, it's a tiring thing, traveling constantly, playing in constant tournaments. But would you say the enjoyment that you get out the game kind of, it pays for the tiredness or the expense itself because of how much you enjoy the game?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you enjoy it more obviously when you're winning, but everyone's really friendly on tour. You get to know these people. You see them every few months. You obviously develop friendships with them. So yeah, darts is great for socialising, and the community is brilliant.
So let's say, obviously, you talk about tour life and everyone being so friendly, but let's say there was an open pairs tournament, you could choose absolutely anyone on tour. Who would you choose to be your pairs partner?
Probably Luke Humphries, obviously.
I mean, especially obviously, being friends with him, I guess helps. But I mean, he's great dancer. I bet helps as well.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of
I feel like I wouldn't have to do a lot in that one, so that would be great.
A couple of quick fire questions for you just to round off the interview. So, yep. What is your current walk-on song?
So when I played for Hampshire, it was Run DMC. It's like that, and that's the way it is. But recently, I've been thinking about changing it to Robin S. You've Got to Show Me Love. So I think that'll be a strong contender.
So do you, obviously we've seen a lot of players, when even in the Premier League we saw like Littler, Humphries, all listening to music. Do you have any specific pre-match, rituals or routines that you
do? Not really, none that I can think. I've got a bad habit of like biting my flight protectors, which I think that's just stuck with me since I was younger. But that's kind of like when I'm playing. But I don't think I do anything when I'm. No, I can't think of any.
So obviously, you've had a great year in general, but of your whole career, what would you say is the highlight of it so far?
I think that's a tough one. I would probably say obviously my England call up, because I really didn't expect that. But then it was a close toss up between obviously hitting my highest average against Fallon, which was a 97. So between those two, because they were both just like very unexpected for me.
What would if you had a dart double to save your life? What double would you throw at?
Oh God, me and doubles have a love-hate relationship. Um, uh, I'd probably say tops, but sometimes my top it's awful when I go for tops. But that's probably where I'd feel more comfortable.
And the big question to end this amazing interview: would you rather win the World Cup with your best friend or win the World Championship on your own?
Oh, I'm gonna say a world championship on my own.
I think I
Be a
don't
bit
think
selfish there.
I don't,
Go
I
for
don't
the
think you have a
glory.
single answer saying the World Cup yet. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
so much, Gemma. It's been absolutely incredible to have you on the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed your time.
yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Jack.